Look, start off by saying I thought we had a really good week, yeah, really pleased with the effort Saturday. It's always a big game for us. Certainly, I feel that way, but I think our players feel the same with the ties we have down there. So really proud of that effort we put forth Saturday. But eyes are forward for me, and so we got the biggest game of the year on Wednesday, and we got to go down there and take care of business. And I know avoid the what you look at, and you look at the standings and stuff like that. We got to avoid that and go down there and work on us, which is what the whole deal is. So I thought last week we did a good job of that, was working on us and working on our defense, working on our rebound effort, things like that. So that's what we'll do this week too. So you got it, Shane.
You've talked about the maturity of this team basically all year, and they've kind of risen to the tests of that this week, where you have a South Alabama team that's really been struggling, and you said you talked about standings and net and everything else. They know they've got kind of that resume game coming up after that. Is this the biggest test of that, I guess, maturity, that they stay focused and really kind of like take those one at a time like you preach?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I don't want to say prove that, but like are constantly proving that. In that I just think we are on a mission for us, right? And that's what we've talked about as a staff. Players have talked about it all year long, is that like we are on a mission for us. And so I've done this long enough to know, like, I don't care what their record is, right? You're going to go down to South Al and they're going to be pumped up. It's at their place. If you don't take care of your defensive end, you're going to find yourself in a dogfight. Like, that's not where we want to, right? We want to take care of our business. And so it's about us getting better. And I do think our maturity will be tested very, very quickly too. And I'm saying quickly, like today, when you show up for film and practice today, what's your mindset? Like, what, we just won the Super Bowl? No, we didn't, right? We beat ODU at ODU. Great. Next. Right. So I think our team has done a good job with that. I think our leadership is the kind of the fuel behind that, right? With Peyton and Anna and Jamia and Roe, Susha. Everybody's got, this mindset of a common mission, right? And that's what, it doesn't matter who's next to us. It will be the biggest game of the year. We're going to treat it that way. But it's easy to say that, right? And that's what my message will be. You still have to do that as a player, as a 19-year-old or a 22-year-old, right? You have to be able to carry that too. And that's the maturity piece. But I do think that's what we're working on and continue to try to prove.
And this run that Peyton's on with the 5 straight double-doubles, and she's also leading you in steals and blocks, and, a lot of different categories. I don't want to ask you to directly compare her to other players, but
because I'm not gonna.
Is there some? Have you seen anybody quite have a season quite like this since you've been here? Because the variety of different things she's doing, and maybe things that she didn't do before, seem to be kind of setting her apart.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. There's been, if I had just been hired, right, I'm Coach P, right? It's like I wouldn't have the history in my head, right? Even if I was Mark Byington, right, who'd been here longer, it's like I've got so much history in my head, right? Tamara Young had a pretty good senior year, my first year here. Then you have a Dawn Evans who, from sophomore, junior to senior year, we basically asked her to score 25, 26 points a game every night. That's like, you keep going through with then you go to like the more balanced and efficient teams of like the Kirby, Nikki, Jazz, Precious, right? You talking about, my son was looking up Precious Hall's games her senior year, having 46 at Rutgers, right, having 38 against Tennessee. And so it's hard for me to categorize Peyton's play with those, right, just because I've seen it. I almost know too much about it, right? What I can speak on with her is like how absolutely outstanding she's playing, right? And I don't know how to compare it because everybody's different, right? Precious didn't rebound like Peyton did. When Smalls was here, we were constantly talking about, prior to her year, I want you in the 50, 40, 90 club, right? And if you look at conference games, P's 52%, almost 40% from 3, 39.7, with 83% from the line. 83% from the line, Kurt. No way. She should be in 95. But, right, that was something we talked about with Smalls. Now, I never had Smalls averaging 8.5 rebounds a game, right? Kiki was a little bit more in that category. It's just, you see what I'm saying? It's a blend of these, to me, legends, right? And I think P's on her way to being that. I think P will be and is now. What I love right now about Peyton is that she is just, there's an unconscious confidence, right? It's just, I'm just playing basketball. I'm just taking it as it comes. And when it's my time, I'm going to let it fly. When it's time to skip it into somebody else, I'll do it. When it's time for me to go hard and rebound, I'll do it. One of my favorite possessions, we got a couple offensive rebounds, and she ends up going back in and taking a hit and still finishing. It's just relentless, and she's just got a clear mind with it. And I think, you ask yourself, right, how many different people who are everybody has individual goals, right? And how many different people that are playing and doing this can go from a game where she had 8 shots. At Georgia Southern, she had 8 shots. Okay, that's all we got her at Georgia Southern. They were face guarding her, and we win by however much. And there is absolute zero. There's not a millimeter of, man, be nice if I could get like 2 more. It'd be nice if I could. No, there's none of that. It's like, yeah, we won. Awesome. I'm so happy, right? I'll go to Dairy Queen, and I can't eat Dairy Queen, but I'm going to stand there with the team anyway, right? Because I'm so happy that we're winning. And it's like, that's the unique part about her, right? Is that, like, I know she's got her own individual goals, but, like, the humility, right, and the, I guess, thirst for excellence, too, with her, it just – and I catch myself, right? In the first quarter, I was telling Corey, in the first quarter, I couldn't get her touches. We were playing and we were scoring, but so in my mind, I'm looking at my play card, like, let me get her some shots. And I'm like, relax. It's okay. They'll come to her. And they did come to her. And so I'm getting better with that. And so is she. I just think she's more than what her numbers are showing. Like, her example is like absolutely incredible to me. Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question right, but that's my answer.
Coach, talk about Ashanti a little bit too. And obviously she was great on Saturday going back there, but she's been more consistent for you as well. What's been her biggest growth from last year to this year, even earlier this year to right now?
Yeah, and I would even say that. I think the first part of this year was a little bit more of the second half of last year, where it was like up and down, but playing well. I think she really found her groove as far as, like, this thing is way more mental than physical. And I think once she kind of was okay at looking at her mental and her approach and what she was doing to prepare herself for games, or what she was doing, how she would deal with performance anxiety. Everybody on our team, and any team in the country has performance anxiety at some level. And how you're going to get through that. How do you work through that, right? And I think that's what she's really settling into, is that I think it's hard for people. It's hard for people that I've coached to be really good and then not I don't know the word I'm looking for here. To be really good and turn around the next game and not be fearful of not getting up to that standard, right? And I think that's a little bit of what she dealt with, is like she'll have a 25 and 10, and it's like, well, everybody thinks I'm going to have 25 and 10 again. No, you don't have to. Just play. And that's like P's example, right? She can watch P. Just play. And I was so happy for her down at ODU. I know that game means a lot to her. You're coming from your former school where it didn't work, right? And however, it didn't work. You end up at junior college. You come back. You're really starting to get comfortable, and it was nice to be able to perform like that against her former team. I know that was a happy moment for her. But if she can continue to grow the way she's growing now, I just think we're really tough to beat with that aspect. And so, I've done this long enough to know there's a little bit of a pendulum swing, right? As her numbers rise, so does her priority in scouting reports, right? I don't think she's on. I think she's fourth right now, right? If you go Peyton, you go Rowe, you go Susha, all right, Shanti, right? And now it's like, do you have to talk about Ashanti before somebody else? It's coming, right? And when that comes, now it's whoever else's turn, right? Maybe it's more of P, maybe it's Rowe, maybe it's Susha, maybe it's Bree, right? That's what I think is happening, and I've always believed that, right? If Susha goes on a 3-game where she's averaging 25 a game, yeah, here comes a post double. Now what? Now we can hit Ashanti on a dive or P on a 3, whatever. But I think that's a little bit about what's going to happen. And it will challenge her more. This is not like, oh, we've hit in cruise control and we're rolling. No, there'll be all kinds of challenges and what people try to do to take her away. And there'll be adversity coming. But she's doing really well right now.
I don't want to ask you about Ball State, but I do want to ask you about the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. Mm-hmm. And obviously, now this is your second year doing this. Do you like the way it is right now with having the early game, having a non-conference game in the middle of the conference race in February? This year, it might mean a little bit more to you guys than it did last year in February. I guess give me your thoughts on this, and would you like to see any changes?
Yeah, good question. Sometimes I'm alone in how in favor I am of this. Sunbelt meetings, a lot of coaches are like, "Why are we doing this? I don't understand it." I think it's wonderful for the league. I think it's a big opportunity for the league. That is, this league is still like scraping to get respect, right? The A10 has a lot of respect for a lot of different reasons, and they've proved it over time. The Sun Belt doesn't, as far as women's basketball. So to me, that's what we're trying to do. And so I do like it. I don't. Changes, no. I think it's great. I think the way it starts, you get a non-conference home or away. It helps your scheduling. The fact that we don't have to try to find 2 more games is very beneficial to us. I think a lot of people in the Sun Belt do struggle to get home games too because of location or whatever. But I think it's just a huge opportunity for us. And again, I'm answering your question. I know we got South Al, and I know that's the whole deal, and coach speak. But no, it's a maybe a bigger opportunity than it was last year because of the position we're in, and that's what it is, just an opportunity. I thought we learned a lot from last year's game. I mean, they cut us up the first quarter. They were coming off. I don't know how many they had won in a row when they lost at Northern Illinois, and so they were mad. 14. Thank you, Corey. So you got a team that was really, really mad, and they played that way, and they took it right to us. And I thought we came back and made it a good game towards the end, but we just weren't in the position we are right now. And I thought it was an opportunity. We got the game flexed. It went to a Sunday. We played on CBS Sports on TV. Those things are opportunities, and that's just how I see them. In that. I like the position we're in, and I think the rest of the Sun Belt should be geared up to do it, right? If you look at our total win-loss record, we're under 500 this year. Last year we were above 500, and our league showed it, right? We ended up being 8th or 9th. Now we've dropped a little bit because of that. So it's an opportunity to pick up. Can we pick up 10 more wins, right? And that's what I think our mindset should be. But I know some coaches in the league that won't play their best players because they don't want to get them hurt, and they don't. It's like win or lose, doesn't matter right now. I'm trying to get a Sun Belt championship, which I respect too. I really do. I just I think it's a big picture, really positive thing, and that's how I feel about it. And I know some people disagree with me.
And talk about South Alabama. Obviously, the record isn't what they want, but what do they do that concerns you?
They just scrap, right? You're talking about a team that they have guard, they have pieces. They've been on the wrong side of results, but man, again, you talking about a second-year head coach trying to build a program. They're not laying down. They don't. Sure, I know they don't want to be 0 for whatever, but like they're not laying down. I've watched their last 2 games now. They're fighting. They're clawing, and so it's just it's a hard thing to grasp because you think, all right, we've built that. We're 11-0, and I know they 0-10, I believe, because one game was postponed. But like, I mean, you look at that on paper. I know you're 19. I know it's like, no, we're on scholarship. They're on scholarship. It's even. You got to go down there and make sure you're doing the things that got you here, and that's why I mean it's all about us. Like, yeah, South Al has a couple players. I love the kid Danielle Gonzalez coming out of high school. I went down there to see her, and when I went down to see her at her, I think it was Central Point Academy, if I'm not mistaken, and Yolisha Jackson was an assistant at South Florida at the time, and she was down there with me. And it was like, South Florida recruits international is great. And I was like, this is trouble. She's going to end up going to South Florida. She did. And Yolisha gets the job, and now she follows her to South Al. So I love Danielle in high school. And obviously Leggett's leading them in scoring, plays hard. Her sister had a great reputation at Troy. I just have respect for him and what she's doing and what she's building. And we're not counting any chickens before we get down there. We gotta get down there and get in the mud.
Just to maybe backtrack a little, I remember you were talking about performance anxiety. I remember a little bit back in non-conference play, especially after the Texas game, you were talking about maybe players just kind of overthinking heading into a matchup like that. Fast forward to now, the amount of success you've had and the confidence you've seen this team grow in. How have you kind of seen that change throughout? And maybe even if you had another opportunity moving forward, how would you think this team could maybe approach that differently?
Yeah, I just think we know ourselves more now, and I think that's over time. I think games early as a player, you still can have different expectations of what this is going to be this year. And now I think people have really settled into what it is and what. How we flow together, right? Use Jamia, for example, right? Jamia starts the year, maybe she wants X, Y, and Z. And now we've played however many games. I don't know. What do we got here, Corey? 23 games. 23 games. Now it's like, okay, I know a little bit more of what I'm doing for this team, right? So I think you just know yourself more. And so I hope we do get another opportunity. There's 2 different ways we can get that. But I think a little bit of that, yeah, you got a huge opportunity at home. It's a huge team. You want to play well, and it didn't go right how we wanted it to, but I think you can take that experience and put it in your pocket when the next time comes. And so we've referenced that a lot this year. We've referenced the wars we've been in, and that I think we were more battle tested than anybody else in our league, and we call upon that. So yeah, I think that there's a little bit of that, but we just got a long way to go, and I really think we're still getting to know each other. There's still. And this is not a bad thing. There's still conflicts throughout the ODU game that we're talking through during the game, and we'll talk through today with team because it's we have a very high standard. And I joked with them in practice the other day. Practice wasn't going great. We were like not energetic enough, and I got after them a little bit. They turned it up. We looked great, and I was like, "You guys are like, can you just do that?" Like, can we just show up and do that every day? And it would make my job easier, but that's fine. But that's the maturity, I think, and that's the experience. It's like, yeah, we know what to do. All right, don't get caught not doing it, right? And practice it every day because you're either practicing a good habit or you're practicing a bad habit. And either way, right, if you're not going hard every day, you're now creating a bad habit and making it bigger and bigger versus, hey, I know we've done zone motion 57 times this year. I'm going to do zone. I know how to do it hard. I'm going to do it hard, and I'm going to develop more of a good habit type of thing.
And then also just with that, kind of with the success, some of the big differences throughout this year compared to last year, kind of with the finer details. The assist-to-turnover ratio, 7th in Sunbelt last year, 3rd now. Free throw percentage, 10th to 1st. Seeing kind of those minor details, some of the things that may hurt you in a game, but it's been helping you so far. How big is that for you to see this team hone in on it?
Yeah, huge. And that's we talked about before ODU. It's all little things. And Kenny used to say all the time, little things make big things happen. And it's right. The more you can do that, right? The little thing, she deserves a shout out. Zakia's ability to not get pressed. And I know we've been pressed. I know we've turned it over before, but like, you tried to press us. It's like, gone. And it's like that ability, that's a little thing, right? And on the play, Anna gets fouled. It's not an assist, right? You get nothing for that. You get 0 on this stat line for Zakia's ability to go through their press, drop Anna off, and get Anna 2 free throws. Free throw percentage is great, right? That's a good thing. I hope we continue to shoot that. That's a little bit of I want to say outside of my control, but it feels that way sometimes. Those little things have really carried us, and we've made those improvements, and we started making those improvements a long time ago, right? It's not just last week. Being able to bring Zakai in, to bring Bree Robinson in, Ro has a really great vision and IQ as well. So all we've preached very hard. We got to be stingy on the defensive end. We got to be very, very tough on the glass, and then just make the next right play on offense and trust each other. And I think that's the part that's developed over time. And we're not done, but that's the part that's developed over time from use NC State. That was the last time we lost a game. We were terrible in moving the ball. We were awful, and we didn't trust each other that game, and it showed. We scored 40-some points. And so that's the part that we're developing, and we're going to continue to develop because it's essential for our success.
You were just saying your team's been battle tested, and preseason there was a lot of talk about the tough non-conference schedule you guys had, and what I kept hearing from you guys was just that it was all for conference play. And now being able to look back, how have you seen the growth from that tough non-conference schedule, and how do you see it continuing to help you guys in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, I just think it's a kind of what you can revert back to when there are tough times, right? When you're down in the fourth quarter, it's like, hey, you did this at Villanova. You didn't do this right against such and such team, right? And I think those times, I think it can give you confidence that like you've tried to guard Madison Booker from Texas. You've guarded Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame. You've seen that, right? You know that speed. So like I know what you're capable of, right? And we've been using this a lot lately. It's like it's not what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do. And I know you can do this. So show me that you're willing to do all the things that it's going to take to do it. But we talk about it. We talk about it out loud, and I think those successes and even those failures have given us more confidence now. And again, we're not – this is not the peak of our mountain here, but we're progressing the way you want to.
Another level of this connectivity with you, Sean, is when you're bringing in the likes of Roe or Zakiya or Bree, are you kind of envisioning and seeing on the floor the first few moments of a game and having an understanding of, or expectation of what their impact is going to be relatively quickly?
Mm-hmm. And you're talking live game. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I use Neil for an example because early on it was like, who do you want to throw in first, right? And I didn't necessarily want to put him in as a package all the time. And he's always like, depends on what we need, right? And it sounds so simple, right? But, I think Roe's a little bit more of a natural scorer, right? And that's something that, all right, we're playing Texas. We can't score, right? And we put her in. She scores, I think, at least 4, maybe 6. And, Bree is a different sort of spark plug. Roe can spark us one way, but Bree can spark us another way. So can Angela, so can Anna. But, yeah, I think there's so many different ways that they can impact the game. And part of it is, putting the ball in Roe's hands and she makes a good decision. That can impact the team in a way too. So you're looking a little bit at their attributes, Bree especially, right? If they're scoring on us and we need somebody, all right, now you can put her in, take Jamia out, right? And now you've got your 2 best guard defenders, Zakiya and Bree, on the floor at the same time, right? And that maybe can get us going offensively because we've got stops, right? Or there can be one guard that's hurting us, and I think Bree is our overall best defender, go get her, right? But at the same time, there is just an element of now it's, I don't want to say routine, but the flow of the game. Roe and Bree know they're about 6.5, 7 minute mark. They're coming in. And we've been able to go back we leave Peyton, Susha, and either Z or Jamia. And then coming back through with Anna and coming back through with whoever you took out, Jamia and Ashanti, right? And you're able to get a pretty good rotation. But sometimes there's a need to fill, and sometimes it's just rotation.